Despite their frustrating lack of resolution, two major mysteries in Chicago Fire deserve answers in Season 14. The Chicago Fire Season 13 finale did little to establish its upcoming character exits, but other characters have been gone much longer without explanation. There is now an amazing possibility that Chicago Fire Season 14 can finally address that for better or worse. It's difficult because closing either mystery could require part-time additions to the Chicago Fire cast. One of the easier ways to answer unsolved questions in a TV show is to bring in new characters with extra information, but that actually might not be the play this time. In fact, both mysteries can be resolved by characters already in the cast. Chicago Fire still hasn't revealed how Kid's parents died, even though it's important. She mostly talks about her life after their deaths. Nothing demonstrated more than Chicago Fire Season 13 how crucial it is to understand how Stella's, Miranda Ray Mayo, parents passed away. Stella's very sympathetic approach to managing her truck personnel can be explained by the fact that her cousin Cole, Richard Blackman, disclosed that Stella moved in with her Aunt Laverne and took over the household when Laverne developed postpartum depression. However, at no point has it been established why she had to move in with Laverne in the first place. We know that this happened after her parents died, but the cause of her parents' deaths has never once been said in the series, despite years of knowing that it happened. We only know how it shaped Stella's personality. By now, it seems odd not to know any more than that. It's easy to find an entire timeline of Kid and Severide's, Taylor Kinney, Chicago Fire relationship, yet fans have to guess about Kid's parents while knowing almost nothing about them. This could be answered by new characters or flashbacks, but such gimmicks are perhaps best left for another mystery. Chicago Fire Season 13 establishes another unexplained death in Novak's family. All we know is that it likely involved a suicide. Meanwhile, in Season 13, Episode 8, Lizzie Novak, Jocelyn Hewden, absolutely unloads on a man when she's called to the scene of an attempted suicide. Later in the episode, a former neighbor recognizes Lizzie as one of the Novak girls when she visits her childhood home. The overwhelming implication is that Lizzie has first-hand experience with suicide that the neighbors can easily remember. Novak also never elaborates on what happened to her family, so online fans have had to put some pieces together on their own. A prime theory is that Lizzie specifically asks her attempted suicide victim how he could do this to us, because her father took his own life. But that's not the only credible theory worthy of further consideration. At the beginning of the episode, Lizzie kisses her finger and presses it to a photo of her sister. This has caused a lot of fans to assume that Lizzie's neighbor recognizes her because Lizzie's sister is locally remembered due to her suicide. Both stories are plausible explanations for one of Chicago Fire's biggest unanswered mysteries. Kid and Novak's family deaths remaining unexplained weakens their Chicago Fire arcs. These plot points are currently just sources of distraction. On the face of things, there's nothing intrinsically wrong with backstory characters dying under known circumstances. The problem is that every reference to Kid's parents distracts from whatever she's presently talking about, even if it would otherwise be considered unrelated. The same is true of Novak's family history, especially assuming she'll likely be called to the scene of a suicide again. Novak can't be part of another suicide storyline without this coming up. Otherwise, her character development would be ruined. Likewise, Stella can only bring up her dead parents so many times before people start demanding explanations. Perhaps that hasn't happened yet, but fans need to know that Stella is more than a receptacle for unexplained melodrama. Why Chicago Fire Season 14 is the best time to reveal the causes of Stella and Lizzie's tragedies. Increased family focus justifies these storylines. One of the biggest mysteries from Season 13 is how Chicago Fire might write out Carver, Jake Lockett, and Ritter, Daniel Keary. Characters like Kylie, Caitlin Shennett, might become more important, but it seems that Ritter and Carver's leaving will create numerous opportunities to fill their roles in the firehouse. One member of the 51, however, can't take such a hands-off approach to controversy. Chicago Fire Season 14 will have to focus to some degree on Stella's pregnancy, which means that the sheer subject of family is going to be a big topic at the firehouse moving forward. This means that Stella may be reflecting on her own childhood to become more comfortable being a parent. And Stella won't be on that journey alone. Novak also has to come to grips with her past, whether it surrounds her father or sister. This could lead to Novak and Kid having a more intimate conversation with each other than ever before, allowing them to wrap up these mysteries while also building up the show's characters. While it's clear that Kid's pregnancy provides an opportunity for her and Novak to bond over these family tragedies, that doesn't mean it will happen. But this is the undeniably best time for Chicago Fire to start answering questions related to its main characters and their family histories. Hopefully, the series won't waste that opportunity. Enjoy Screen Rant's primetime coverage? Click below to sign up for our weekly Network TV newsletter. Make sure to check Network TV in your preferences and get the inside scoop from actors and showrunners on your favorite series. For a series built on the unpredictability of life or death emergencies and the emotional weight carried by those who face them daily, Chicago Fire has always known how to wrench its audience's heartstrings at precisely the right moments. It's a show that thrives on the bonds of its characters, the dangers of their profession, and the lingering consequences of both personal and professional losses. But as we gear up for Season 14, there's a growing, undeniable truth hovering over Firehouse 51 like an unextinguished ember. There are two devastating character tragedies that have been largely left to smolder in the background, with their unresolved nature continuing to haunt longtime fans. These aren't just minor loose ends or side plots that quietly fizzled out. They're storylines that, at their core, reshaped the lives of key characters and altered the emotional DNA of the series itself. And yet, for reasons that remain frustratingly unclear, the show has danced around them, hinted at closure, and then swiftly moved on as if the characters and viewers weren't still carrying those wounds. It's time, in Season 14, for Chicago Fire to finally give these two tragedies the resolution they so richly deserve. The unexplained and painful fate of Annie Alonso's Emily Foster, and the ongoing, barely addressed aftermath of Otis Vonsek's death, especially for those who loved him most. The first of these lingering tragedies revolves around Emily Foster, a character who burst onto the scene in Season 7 as a refreshing, confident, and ambitious paramedic partner to Sylvie Brett. Played with undeniable charm and presence by Annie Alonso, Foster was introduced as a former medical student who left behind the walls of a hospital for the back of an ambulance, seeking to make a more direct difference in the world. Over the next 2 seasons, fans watched Foster's character build authentic relationships, particularly a genuine and supportive friendship with Brett, and navigate her complicated feelings about medicine, life choices, and personal identity. Then, in what can only be described as a quietly mishandled departure, Foster's story was abruptly cut short. She left Firehouse 51 off-screen between Seasons 8 and 9 to return to medical school, with little fanfare and almost no follow-up. For a show that has historically handled character exits with gut-wrenching precision, from Shay's shocking death to Casey's bittersweet departure, Foster's exit felt dismissive, not just to the character but to the audience that had invested in her. What makes this even more tragic is how much potential remained in Foster's story. We saw glimpses of her struggles with imposter syndrome, her re-emerging doubts about leaving med school in the first place, and a developing yet unfulfilled storyline about her complicated relationship with her biological family and romantic life. And more importantly, Foster was one of the few LGBTQ+ characters in the One Chicago universe, and her sudden removal left a notable void in the show's diverse representation. Chicago Fire made almost no effort to revisit or even mention her in subsequent seasons. Brett, who had shared some of her most emotionally vulnerable moments with Foster, rarely references her absence, and the show never provided fans with meaningful closure. Did she make it through medical school? Did she stay in Chicago? Thanks for watching this video. Please subscribe my Fast Gossip 24 to our channel and stay with us.